Welcome back. It's mid-morning on WKYT. A Midway, Kentucky doctor has released a fascinating book that tells the stories of his patients' near-death experiences and how those stories have affected his own life.
Dr. James Roach, the author of God's House Calls, is here to tell us more about it. Welcome. Glad to have you here today.
Oh, I'm so thrilled to be with both of you this morning.
We appreciate it. What triggered your interest in this?
I had a patient come in and she'd had a spiritual near-death experience after a motor vehicle accident. She felt the peace, she felt the love, she saw the light, and afterwards she said, "I'm not afraid of death anymore." And I thought, here, I've been training my whole life to save people's lives, and she's not even afraid if she dies or not. And then I thought, well, what if I didn't fear death? And then I thought, what if I could convince my patients they didn't need to fear death at all, that would be so healing for them, that process.
You told me that you were surprised at how many people had this. Is it always a positive experience?
Well, no, it's not always a positive experience. I had one patient who was alcoholic who had a negative near-death experience. Well, he didn't give me the details, but it shook him up. And for the next 2 years, he did everything he could to make amends. 2 kids he'd abandoned, he set up trust funds. Then he had another experience. This time it was blissful. And then I began to think, maybe it matters how we live our lives, whether we're making the world a better place.
So it sounds like the types of experiences that people have changes their lives for the rest of their life.
Oh, absolutely. All of these individuals, and I've had over 200 in my office, become more spiritual as a result of that. And for example, out-of-body experiences. Virtually every week I've talked with someone who's been out of body, maybe during childbirth or sexual assault or during surgery. I had one fellow, when he won the Kentucky Derby, he was in the winner's circle, and suddenly he was way up above, looking down.
Do you find that a lot of times people are afraid to share these stories until you really start asking? Absolutely.
They may not have told their spouse, and that's one of the purposes of this book, is to destigmatize these experiences and help others realize how common they are. You know, I was at a gathering recently and had people hold up their hands. 30% held up their hands that had had these experiences.
The interesting thing is you sort of went into this as a skeptic early on, right?
Yeah. You know, 3 or 4 years ago, I thought, wow, that'd be nice, you know, if there's a God, but we'll never know till we die. And now I'm 100.00% certain. Einstein was right, you know. We look at each other, we see solid mass, but in fact, we're just hot air. We're 99.9% air. So it's very easy. You know, it's like a cloud separating into two, and then it can reconnect. So our physical energy field can separate from our spiritual energy field. That's what's happening when these doctors are doing CPR, and floating up above are their spiritual energy fields.
And you say people cannot read this book and not be a believer.
Well, that's right. Yeah, if people with an open mind that read this book will finish the book convinced totally of the reality of God.
Well, it is number 1 in 4 categories on Amazon.com right now, and you can get it there. Midway Dr. James Roach with God's House Calls. Thanks for coming in.